We are alive, and it's time for someone to actually have the integrity to tell the truth about what's happening right now with the MAGA versus Epstein. What is really going on? And this is something, these are the things I'm going to talk about here are things that you're not going to hear anywhere else. And that's just because our media is very toxic, especially independent media. And everyone is focused on trying to get clicks and pandering to their audience and things like that. So no one's really telling you the real story, right? So let's first of all start off with the reality of what's happening right now and where this is leading us to. So first of all, the people who are talking about they want the truth to come out, they are the ones who are actively engaged in the cover-up. The ones who are talking about there's a cover-up, they're the ones who are covering it up. What's the evidence to back that up? Well, the people who say they want the truth to come out are the ones who voted for and are supporting the very party who is blocking Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is, from coming out and exposing the truth. She said she wants to speak. She wants to tell the truth about what's happening. And the Republicans don't want her to speak. So, the people who claim they want the truth, the people they voted for, who represent them, blocking the truth from coming out. Donald Trump is also actively blocking the truth from coming out. For him, actively wanted to have the truth come out, supposedly. Right, that's what the rhetoric was for years. Start working for Trump. All of a sudden, what? Where is it? Where's the heat at, right? No longer have any interest in supposedly bringing out the truth. So Trump is ultimately the one who is doing this cover-up. And the people who claim that they want the truth to come out and are worried about the kids and the women and all this kind of stuff, they love the guy who's covering it up. I'm gonna say it again. The people who claim they want the truth to come out, they love the guy who is covering it up. Now let left-wing partisan media tell it, and MAGA is revolting against Trump. That's their common clickbait title that they're all doing. Even far left folks lying to you. No such thing is happening. There is no revolt against Trump. Nothing significant anyway. They're revolting against Pam Bondi, which helps protect Trump, who's covering it up. So MAGA, rather than revolting against Trump, they are helping him to cover this up, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to illustrate exactly what it is that MAGA is actually doing, where these dishonest left-wing media folks are pretending as if they are revolting against Trump. This is what's actually happening, right? And of course, MAGA is not a monolith as much as maybe some left-wing folks would like to tell you. They're a monolith on only one thing, and that is worship of one man, Donald J. Trump. But otherwise, there's different factions. They got different ideas about things. Some are more extreme, some are less extreme. So, with that being said, what's actually happening? I already pointed out one thing. There is a focus on the scapegoat, Pam Bondi or Bongino, which protects Trump, never to get their justice. So, again, the very people who are claiming to care about justice and care about the women and children, they are helping the cover-up by supporting the guy who's covering it up, right? They play games. They say Trump administration, right? They're not saying Trump. They're saying Trump administration, or they're saying Pam Bondi, right? So let me illustrate another part of the MAGA base and what's actually happening as opposed to what we're being told by left-wing media. So basically, the people who are most aggressive, who seem to be most aggressive, and seem like they might be like fed up with Trump or whatever, They're not fed up in terms of Trump is corrupt, Trump is covering this up. I want to know whether what I'm hearing is true, whether Trump actually did some bad things with those kids, right? That is not what they're saying, right? And I want to harp on that point just a little bit for a second. If you really cared about the kids and the women, right, there's enough evidence that you'd be concerned to know, you'd be concerned to clear Trump's name, right? Anyone who actually has some integrity and has a brain, if they're really concerned about the kids and the women, right, even as a Trump supporter, you'd be like, man, Trump used to hang out with this guy. It's not Clinton in all those photos, it's Trump in all those photos. Trump was friends for 10 years. Epstein was always up in Mar-a-Lago, right? Trump seems to be very suspicious about getting the files out. Now he's saying, why are we still talking about it, right? That is more than enough evidence that anyone with any integrity who actually cares about the women and children, even as a Trump supporter, to not play games and talk about, oh, Trump administration, or deep state, whatever, to be like, listen, man, I want to know if my guy's guilty, right? This is not a partisan thing, right? If I'm saying, if you have integrity, you'd be like, this is not a partisan thing. It's not about going after Clinton. I actually care about the women and children. And my guy, there's a lot of evidence pointing to him. And I'm not hearing a lot of evidence vindicating him. In fact, I'm noticing the people I listen to refuse to even engage seriously into that question of whether Trump is guilty, right? We get a Tucker Carlson one-liner or Charlie Kirk one-liner. You know, they're trying to say Trump is in the files. I don't think so. Trump would never do anything like that. And that's it, right? There's no detailed discussion engaging with the points. What was he doing for 10 years? What's up with him? And like I mentioned in my other video, they talk about, Epstein bad behavior and Trump kicked him out of the club. What was the bad behavior exactly? And what exactly did Trump say about it? Did he simply kick him out, which is what you do to protect your reputation? Or did he go after Epstein the way we know he likes to go after people, right? Where's the evidence of him saying that Epstein's a pedophile and this and that and this guy should be in prison? Like, where's the video of him attacking this guy, right? And if there's no video of that, as a Trump supporter, I'd be like, listen, man, I wouldn't be a bitch and talk about Trump administration. I'd be like, listen, man, I'm not gonna go on with these liberals talking about, Trump did this and Trump did that. But I don't like the fact that no one in right-wing media is actively engaging with questioning whether Trump is involved or not. Because I want to know, right? Because unlike some other partisan people on my side, right, who are saying they care about the kids, actually do care about the kids, and a lot of evidence is pointing to the guy who used to go into locker rooms, the guy who talked about grabbing him in the pussy, right? The guy who did all that and was hanging out with this guy. We see him partying with this guy. We see him talking about, oh, Epstein likes him young. That's him talking about his friend, right? With all of that evidence, anyone with any integrity and a brain would be like, listen, man, first of all, you'd be upset with right-wing media and saying, listen, you guys talk about Clinton for all these years, and I've never seen you seriously engage with whether Trump is guilty, right? When it comes to whether Trump is guilty, you just kind of like, oh, I don't think so, and liberal this and that or whatever, right? And you just hand wave it away. That should not be acceptable. Unless, of course, you don't actually care about the kids, you don't care about the women, that you're just a partisan and you're just acting emotionally. And some of it could be a little bit deeper than that because, again, I spoke about this in my other live stream where I said, if you keep bombarding somebody with something for a very long time, they listen to this content and this rhetoric, they start to internalize it and it becomes something that they start to accept as true, not realizing it's been injected into them almost like a brainwashing, right? So then they feel like it's their own ideas and they take it like, as strong as you are that the sky is blue, you are strong about these other things that were, again, injected into your brain, right? So the reality is these people were told for a very long time about this pedo ring and the Democrats and doing this stuff with girls and whatever. And it was said by people that said it in a very emotional way, and this is disgusting and it's sick and whatever. And now it's a reflex for them, right? So that they don't actually care about the kids and the whatever injustice. It's just a reflex reaction at this point, because again, you've been told for so long. It's no different than a typical TYT viewer who sees everything as racist because they've been listening to TYT tell them everything is racist, right? It's impossible for a pink-skinned police officer to shoot a brown-skinned person and it not be racism, right? That's what you get from YT. And after years and years of hearing that, you instinctively, when you see a shooting happen without any evidence at all, it's just like, oh, he's racist, right? Because that's the rhetoric that you've been hearing for a long time. Well, these MAGA people have been hearing for a long time, Clinton and the Democrats and the kids and this and that and whatever. So again, it's not something they really care about. It's something that was used to manipulate them and to get them all riled up. And at this point, it's reflexive. It's reflexive at this point. Like it just like I hit your knee with a hammer. You don't make a decision to move your leg, right? It's just a reflex. I hit your knee, boom, your foot goes out, right? So the reflex is, you talk about Epstein, oh, the kids, and but are they losing any sleep over the victims? Because think about it. You think this is the only trafficking that's happened? There are sex trafficking rings right now doing some very disgusting things. There's sex slavery, all kind of things going on. But these people don't talk about it, they don't care about it, right? Because that's not what they have been fed, right? That's not what they have been brainwashed into being concerned about. So that's how you can separate reality from fantasy, right? If you really cared about this thing and these women, then you would be concerned about the other women and children who are being abused as we speak right now. Not the only one that has been fed to you by partisans who make a ton of money by feeding you this stuff, right? So again, ultimately, it is just reflexive. But the key detail I want you to understand is that they do not in any way, any of the supposed MAGAs that are revolting, they do not in any way look at Trump as the bad guy, as the guy doing the cover-up, as that guy who might be implicated in some of the disgusting acts. They look at him as a hero, as one of the best presidents they've ever had. If the election was held again, an overwhelming majority of them would vote for him right now. They're happy with what he's done. Look at his polling among his base. Ignore CNN and progressive media and all these clowns. Look at his polling among his base. The GOP voters, especially MAGA, love Donald Trump. The revolt, and I've explained this before, I'll explain it again. This is the so-called revolt. The revolt is innocent mistake, right? Trump is a good guy. He's a great president. He also wanted to see justice as well. Like, that's an honest thing. But for some reason, he's distracted or he doesn't understand. He's being human and making a mistake. That's the extent of the revolt. When they say, oh, this is not what I voted for or whatever, right? That is the extent of it. That is, I gave you the analogy. That is Bernie Sanders getting elected, doing a ton of things that progressives want, but refusing to engage with raising minimum wage, which is something he ran on. And imagine the progressives getting upset with him about that. That's not a revolt. If he's doing most of the stuff they asked for, they would love him and be happy with their vote and vote for him again. But they're just disappointed that he's just not taking this particular issue seriously. And they probably come up with an apologia and say maybe he doesn't understand or he has bad advisors or something like that. But that's not a revolt. In fact, it's so much not a revolt that I can almost guarantee you that the outcome of this is going to be, it's going to get even worse, because we might be looking at Ghislaine Maxwell getting a pardon. So the only person right now who has been, punished for the disgusting things that were done to those kids, the only person in prison right now for this might be let free. And how will that happen? Through MAGA, right? the people worried about justice and whatever, through their actions and right-wing media, we might see the very person, the only person in prison right now, we might see them. So don't listen to anything they're saying. It's all BS. They will happily see the one person let free. Let me tell you the real problem, right? This is the real problem that's been happening in this scenario, right? Why it's not going the way it normally does. Right-wing media, Donald Trump, have failed to come up with some kind of a spin or explanation for everything that makes any sense. Trump has been atrocious on this. Right-wing media has been atrocious on this to the point where even the most idiotic MAGA folks are not falling for it. So what does that mean? All they need to do is come up with something that is at least somewhat plausible. It doesn't have to be very plausible because these people are easy to fool. So it doesn't have to be very creative. But right now what they're doing is just even the biggest moron is like, this is stupid. You're trying to cover it up, right? That's the only problem. If Trump was just not such a moron and came up with the most basic level, still stupid, but the most basic level of explanation that kind of made sense, then they would move on and whatever. But that's gonna happen. Don't trust me. They're working on it, and it's gonna be some version of, because that's what I'm telling you. The only reason they're worried about this again is because the explanation is so weak. But what they're gonna work on is, the whole thing was a Democrat thing, right? It was fake. It was made to smear Trump or whatever, right? And Trump himself said it's fake, right? So why do we have Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? Let her go. She's been set up. Maybe Epstein was actually set up as well. So the same people worried about the kids and whatever, they'll be the ones to set her free, right? And even to potentially revive the reputation. That might be a stretch on that one, but I could see them even reviving the reputation of Epstein, because if they come up with a narrative to free Trump of all, exposure here, and the narrative is that simply, hey man, the whole thing is fake, right? Trump himself said it's fake. There's nothing here. And hey, by the way, here's a very strong point. The Democrats were in office. If there was anything there, they would have exposed it. This is how dumb people are in this country, that statement resonates. The fact that you could, as an influencer, say something like that and expect that that's going to work, right? As if you don't understand the concept of mutually assured destruction. Why the fuck would the Democrats be engaged in exposing this when it would also expose them? Do you think Biden could have put out the files or whatever information there is and then, have it go against Trump, and the Republicans were not going to be like, okay, well, we have nothing to lose. You exposed our guy, so now we're going to expose Clinton and whoever else, right? No one can afford to put these files out, Democrat or Republican. So saying that, the fact that they didn't release it when they would have done it to go after Trump, what's the point of going after Trump if you're going to destroy your party, right? You're going to expose your party and maybe your donors. Like, that is mutually assured destruction. Of course they didn't put the files out, right? And now, some might ask, well, what's happening now? What has changed now? I think potentially what's changed is things are going so bad for the Republicans with this, and things have been going so bad for the Democrats in general. Like, they haven't really had much traction. So this is too tempting to not jump on top of. And one advantage that the Democrats have over the Republicans is, I believe most of the people to be exposed are not really active big players, right? I mean, because I think Clinton's probably one of the biggest names, and like, who the fuck gives a fuck about Clinton, right? Republicans are the ones that have the most to lose, right? Because if this brings down Trump, Trump is their guy. He's at the very top. He's literally the president, right? So I think the calculation is made, and from that perspective. And also, if you look who's pushing it, it's was it Ro Khanna, right? It's not one of the establishment Democrats, right? The ones who would definitely be involved in a cover-up themselves, right? Who wouldn't want it just this stuff to come out. It's Wakanda who is pushing for it, right? And probably he's able to convince them to go along with it because of, again, it's too tasty, man. They're seeing the dysfunction. They're seeing, rather than running on helping people and making things better in a significant way, as opposed to just enough to win an election, they like to cheat. And this is a great cheat code, right? They're, things are falling apart in the Republican side, and MAGA is going back and forth. And, let's pour some fuel on that flames so that we can win with less effort, right? That's, to me, the way that they think. And I think that's why there's an attraction to, engaging with this, as opposed to when they were in power and they could have released the files, right? So I think I've covered most of what I wanted to say. So again, I think one of the most important things is anyone that is complaining, like anyone in MAGA or whatever is complaining about Trump or whatever, it's not from the perspective of that he's a bad guy and that he's corrupt and that he might be involved. And you notice the people who are making all the noise, almost none of them is even entertaining the question of what if Trump was involved in this stuff. That's all you need to know, right? Anyone who's seriously concerned about justice and the girls and the kids, with all the evidence pointing at him, right? Now you could dismiss liberals and say they'll agree with anything that's negative about Trump, and that is true, right? But as a person who is objective and has integrity, who really cares about the girls and the women or whatever, you would have to be concerned about whether Trump is involved in this as well. You wouldn't be only concerned about the elites who happen to vote differently from you, right? You'd be very concerned about the ones who are on your side as well, because it's not about sides, right? If you really care about justice, right? It wouldn't just be only, Pam Bondi might be covering it up, right? That's not how it would work. Anyway, before I end the live stream, let me go see the ridiculous comments and nasty comments. The angry comments. If I can actually see them. My eyes are so bad. The three G's, what is that? He's all of those things. This is absolutely ruined the Republican Party. I don't know about that, man. I think the Republican Party is going to be just fine. MAGA is going to just be fine. Bookmark this video for 2 months from now. Bookmark this video from 2 months from now, when we've moved on to the next shiny thing. That's the next thing that's coming, by the way. They cooking up some stuff. They already tried some things. That's what the Republicans do. They try this, try that. They're gonna keep trying things until they find something that the dummies that vote for them are like, ooh, 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 right? Get the seals clapping, ooh, 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 ooh. Right? The trans people. So they're gonna keep, it's like throw stuff at the wall until you get something that sticks. So again, bookmark this video for 2 months from now, when nobody even remembers. I'm gonna make a video and be like, hey guys, do you remember the Epstein fallout? You remember how the liberals were saying that the MAGA was falling apart and Trump was done? What you think now? And y'all gonna be like, wait a minute, that's right. I even forgot about the Epstein files. Ghislaine Maxwell is released. She got a pardon from Trump. Everyone moves on, and we focus on some DEI trans thing or autopen, Biden's autopen. Oh my goodness. Elon Musk is a third party looking pretty good right now. I don't know about all that, man. That's gonna be the next thing. Talk to me in 2 months and ask me what's up with the Elon Musk party. what they've accomplished. That was Callie. And Trevor says, honestly, what I don't like is I can't read this and walk, is the free thinking has taken the wayside to, I gotta read this in the replay. Imagine defending predators. Of course, Of course. If you would vote for a rapist, you will absolutely have this woman pardoned, and you take part in a cover-up of the Epstein files, all the while pretending, oh, we gotta get the files out, we gotta get the truth out, America has a right to know, right? Just remember, I hope you guys are screenshot all these clowns who are yelling and screaming about the truth needs to come out and this and that, and the kids. Screenshot all these comments because they're gonna shut the fuck up real quick, right? They're gonna move on real quick, right? Guarantee it. All this energy is gonna be gone, right? Because they have a choice, right? This is what it all amounts to. You have a choice, right? Be involved in the cover-up of the Epstein files, or you could let the trans party get more power. That's what it amounts to. As it's tough choices, tough choices. You know, we have on one side men playing in women's sports and trans everywhere, and pride celebrations in every city, right? Maybe one day we'll have a trans president, right? You have that on one side, the far left, they've gone too far. Or I mean, the guy's dead anyway. Like, who cares? Like, Epstein files, like, whatever. I'm sure whatever girls that got assaulted, I mean, they're grown now. I'm sure they've gotten over it. They had some therapy and whatever. Like, who gives a fuck about some, you know? I mean, first of all, it's not like, I don't think they were, like, captured necessarily. I think they were, what they, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I just don't want any trans. I don't want any trans stuff. That's the most important thing, right? I could be not able to afford a home, right? Not making enough money, don't have any health care to where I can go bankrupt or die. And that's all fine, as long as we don't have the trans stuff, right? You know, and these goddamn immigrants crossing over the border, right? You live in Alaska. You live in Alaska or somewhere in the center of the country, and you're like, listen, man, I don't care about the price of housing. I don't care about healthcare. I don't care about any of that shit. I don't even care about national security. We can have people in our government that are chatting on unsecured apps about their missions, right? Just being sloppy and having their mother or their wife on the chat and all this kind of nonsense. That's fine, right? I don't mind that stuff. Pedo rings, getting away, that's fine. I just don't want any of this trans stuff, man. You know, trans, everything. Let me ask this, everybody, I'm gonna end on this. Everybody who's watching this video, I want you to press the number 1 if you've even seen a trans person in the last week. Whether you're left wing or right wing. Have you even seen one in the last? Have you seen her? 1, if you've seen a trans person in the last week. 2, if not. Let's see. Let's do a survey. Let's do an Elon Musk survey. Have you seen a trans person in the last week? Press 1. If you haven't, press 2. That's what matters. More important than healthcare and being able to pay my bills and have a roof over my head is whether or not there's trans people or a trans agenda. Oh man, let's see. 1, 2. This one person says 11. Holy shit. Who is that? They don't want the truth to get out. See, we got buffering now. Now they're buffering. They're trying to keep the truth from getting out. They're trying to block the live stream. Anyway, thanks for joining in. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. We just did 3.2 miles. How you like them apples? 3.2 miles. I'm talking about 3.2. 2.8 miles. I'm going at 3.2 miles. But I have done 2.8 miles. So it's time for me to fuel up. But before I fuel up, let me see if I could do my I'll try to do one sprint. I'm trying to ease back in. I had a back injury not too long ago. I'm almost fully there. I'm not fully there yet. So let's see what happens. Let's see if I can manage it. Let's see. There we go. Ooh, Hills Bridge. Ah. What the hell? There we go.